Hey everyone, I'm Jenny and I'm going to record a little bit about Boardbooster with the intention being just to show you the key features that I use the most and show you how to set them up. Just bear in mind that the way that you set this up and the number of pins that you are looping or pinning or whatever the function may be will vary significantly depending on a lot of variables, and that's okay. So the variables will be the number of boards you currently have that you have created, the number of pins of your own original content, like linking to your blog posts or your products and services, and the number of other pins, like other recipes or other content, other people's content. It will also depend on the number of group boards that you are a part of. I could probably make another video about group boards some other time, but in short, group boards are kind of like the bulletin board outside the grocery store. It's owned by not you, or it could be owned by you, I guess, if you owned the grocery store in this analogy. It's typically they're owned by someone that's not you, though, in this Pinterest world. And lots of people are putting their content on it. Also, in short, it's a good idea to join some that are specific to the types of blog posts and content you create. So, and because they are in front of a much, much larger audience, they can be really, really powerful to join. So that will be my very short little tidbit about group boards. You should get on some or join some, and I'll show you the main functions of how to use Boardbooster. Okay, so I haven't ever, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to scoot this way down here. Hopefully this won't be distracting, but I have to, I'm kind of a rookie at recording. Sorry. Okay, so at the top of Boardbooster in this pretty pink bar, you'll see the pinning tools. There are a thing called campaigns, a scheduler, and looping. I use all three, and I bet you will too. And unfortunately, the names for these actions are a little confusing. So for example, I know in MailChimp, they call campaigns like your emails you send out to your list. So that's not what this is. So unfortunately, see, I should email them because that's a lame name. That's confusing. Scheduler is kind of like how it sounds. I'm under the impression that other pinning programs are different than this scheduler, so of course that might be confusing too, but that's why I'm showing you this. Hopefully this will be clear by the time I'm done. And looping. Maybe I'll explain looping, since looping is maybe the thing that will be the thing I think that sets Boardbooster apart. There's a couple things, but I think looping is the one that is the most important as far, or as that makes it unique, I'd say, that makes Boardbooster unique. So looping is where, you know how you have like on your Pinterest, you have like you have a board of recipes, right? And maybe there's a couple pins from your blog, but there's pins from everybody's blog all over the internet, right? Let's say that you have 500 pins, 500 recipe pins on your recipes board, okay? And let's say that that your blog does also share recipes, so there's some of your content on there and there's lots of other people's content. Because that particular board is related to your niche, one way that you can share the good content you pinned a long time ago is through this feature of looping. Looping takes the very bottom pin, like the very first one you ever pinned, years ago maybe, and pins it to the top. And then it deletes its duplicate, its twin, its mate. It deletes it. You can set it to be a specific number of days, but usually people delete it a week later. So you can turn this feature on for any number of boards that you like, or any number of boards that you wish. Sorry, my kids are watching something. You can turn the looping feature on so that it takes a pin from the bottom and pins it to the top and deletes its mate without you ever having to think about it again. Part of the overarching philosophy here is that you want to be pinning about 100 pins a day. And obviously, you have no time to do that by hand, which is why you would pay the money to have Boardbooster do it for you. The reason you want to pin about 100 pins a day is that Pinterest algorithmically will recognize that you are a strong or valuable pinner by doing so. So the idea is that you, by hook or by crook, have to come up with some ways to pin not just random pins, but pins that are in your niche, valuable, high quality pins that go to valuable stuff, not like broken links and not to spam and not to garbage. So that Pinterest will reward you. And how they will reward you is when someone types in, jam recipe into the search bar of Pinterest, your account has a much better chance of popping up as a resource that might have that recipe. So maybe I should have started with that first. The philosophy behind all this is to somehow, without you having to sit at the computer all day long, pin about 100 pins a day strategically and with purpose so that Pinterest will reward you by allowing your content to sift to the top of the feed for when anyone is searching for something. So I know that sounds maybe super complicated, but it's not. That's just the way it is. Pinterest is a super, super powerful search engine. And if you're toying with the idea of using Boardbooster, it's because you are at least recognizing to some degree that Pinterest is a very powerful search engine. And I would hazard a guess that if you're in this in the Facebook group here and you are watching this, that's because your niche would probably really benefit from Pinterest. 3/4 of all moms supposedly in America are on Pinterest. So, or no, excuse me, of all women. 3/4 of all women are on Pinterest. So it's a pretty powerful search engine. So we're trying to pin 100 pins a day. One way you can do that is by looping your pins. So I would start by jotting down, let's say 5 boards that you already have that are relevant to the things you already blog about or write about or create YouTube videos about or whatever your content creation's about. Write down the names of the boards that you have already. My boards, my very first board is the name of my blog board. So the A Domestic Wildflower board is 100% and only posts from my blog. Okay. I have lots of these are paused, and I'll explain why later. As I got smarter and had more places to pin stuff, I just had to pause these, but that's why they're white and have this little goldenrod colored pause button. But I also blog about canning and preserving, so it's important to me that I am looping or pinning content in the canning and preserving category. This board has pins of my own blog posts. It has lots of pins from other places. Lots and lots of pins. I didn't go through and count. I could not even guess how many. This little number here, this 1,746, I think that's how many pins are on the board. Good God almighty, that's a lot. I think that's what that means. And I believe this 2.1 is the repin rate. That means the rate that pins on this board get repinned other places. I think that's what that means. But now that I say that, oh, yeah. Average pin. Oh, no, that's not true. The average pin has 2 repins, so it's not a percentage. It's the number of repins. All you had to do was hover over it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing. But if you hover over it, this will tell you in this, how many pins are on the board, how many people are following it. The average pin gets 2.1 repins and 0.1 likes. So back to looping. I'm looping for my blog board. I'm looping for my canning and preserving board. I'm looping for clean and organized. I'm not sure why this is white. Don't worry about it. I am looping one for clothed in strength and dignity, looping for crafting, looping for gardening possibilities. Even though I don't have any content about gardening, it really applies to my niche. So, yeah, I don't blog about gardening at all, but I blog about stuff that gardeners care about, like canning. So I decided to loop that content. But see, notice I'm doing very few pins. 1 in 7 days. And that's because so sort of backing up or zooming out, Boardbooster has, like, the plans are based on the number of pins that you pin in a month. Kind of like how cell phone plans used to be, like the number of minutes a month. Some of those plans might be like that still, I guess. So I think when I was notching this back, I was trying to stay underneath the $30 a month limit.
Mommy, I want to do Clifford.
Okay, then choose Clifford, honey.
I don't know where to find it.
You don't know where Clifford is?
It's not here.
Shh, shh, shh. Hang on. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me find Clifford the big red dog, everyone.
Yeah, Clifford the big red dog.
Just a moment.
There has to be new episodes. New episodes. New episodes. New episodes.
Close your mouth. My goodness. Shh, there will be no crying. Okay, sorry for that. Maybe I'll edit that silence out. Okay, so at one point I was trying to notch or reduce the number of pins I was pinning per month. So that's why I really notched that back to only once in a month. And I guess I still am trying to not pin like 1 million pins a day. Good products I'm looping. So I'm looping several boards here, okay? So let's go into canning and, or let me add a board. I want to add, this means I'm going to tell Boardbooster to loop a new board that I have created. You cannot loop a board that you did not create. So you cannot loop a board you do not own. So the only boards here that are showing fermenting, hair and beauty, and shrub recipes apparently are the only boards that I have created since I set this up. So this says looping is intended for expert pinners that manage very large boards. It helps you revive your older pins by repinning them to the same board while minimizing content duplication. Read up on looping. I would read this. Their tutorials on here are very good. I feel like they're very informative, as is their customer service. Every time I've emailed them, I think his name is Dennis Kashkin. He's emailed me back himself, whoever he is. I think he's the owner guy, and he's been very helpful. Include group. If I were to click this, this would show the group boards that I own. You can only loop pins on group boards you own. If your group board is very large, Boardbooster will only loop your pins that are reasonably close to the top. This is interesting. So there's lots you can learn here. If you manually added a pin to a group board that now has 1 million pins on top of it, this pin will not participate in looping. Yeah, so if you manually added a pin like literally years and years and years ago and you have 1 million pins on top of it, it's not going to go to the bottom, apparently. So I'm not going to include, I just want to loop shrub recipes. So this is a sort of newer board. There's maybe 20 pins on it, but I would like to loop it because I'm launching a cocktail course and I want Pinterest to recognize that I am frequently pinning cocktail-related pins. You can click refresh boards if, let's say, 10 minutes ago you created a board and added some pins to it and you want it to show up here. That's what refresh boards means. So I'm going to choose shrub recipes. Click continue. Okay. So working or paused. You can leave this on working, and the only time you want to pause it if it's like if you, I think I have paused holiday boards. Okay. So right now I don't have a Halloween board looping. Okay. Because I don't care if anybody finds the 2 pins of mine that are on the Halloween board. You and I can edit right now, and it can still be on working. You can decide if you want multiple pins a day. I'm going to choose 2 pins a day. You can click over here for 1 pin or less, or that should say fewer, 1 or fewer a day, with a random start date. Yes. Ooh, this means you could. Okay, so you could read about that. I want multiple pins a day, not 1 pin less per day. basic or advanced. Okay, I'm going to do multiple pins per day, basic or advanced. Advanced is when you have when you have like, let's say you want to pin or loop like one pin Monday through Friday, but then you know your audience is on Pinterest a lot on the weekends, which I would say is fairly typical of the type of demographic you are probably targeting. Just people have more time to scroll on Pinterest when they're on the weekend, right? Or on the evenings at least. You might create 2 pinning windows where you pin more on the weekends. And you can do that. I haven't done too much with this. I usually just say weekdays, like just basic 5 a day. Or I'm going to do, let's see, I don't want 5. I want to do 2 a day. I like to have a really nice window because I think some of my people might be on their phones in the morning, like 5 a.m. And it's whatever your time is. Don't overthink the time zone thing. Like you can't be in every time zone. Just go on your time zone and then tweak it from there. I usually do from like 5 a.m. or 6 to 11. You can customize which days. So you can be on basic and still indicate which days. I might want to just loop on the weekends if I wanted. Pin selection, oldest to newest. I think I'm going to set random for this and see what happens. If you had a board that was that had lots of pins, and maybe some of them had square pins or pins that were not optimized for Pinterest, you might choose to let Boardbooster just not choose those square ones and leave them at the bottom. Because remember, this is all like this huge, complicated formula. And Pinterest doesn't like square pins. Pinterest likes vertical pins. So you might tell it to just go tall only. I don't think I've ever pinned all that many square ones, so I'm just going to go all. A square pin, like maybe, for example, you might have gotten in a habit of pinning stuff from Instagram, for example, that those pins are going to be square. That's just one thing that pops into my mind. Automatic deduplication. That means that you want Boardbooster to delete the copy or duplicate of this pin, which you do want, my friends. You do want that. And you can tell it whenever looping, you end up with 2 copies of the same pin on your board. If you want to keep this content duplication down to a minimum, enable automatic deduplication. It will give the new pin some time to accumulate repins and then compare its number of repins to the number of repins of the original and delete the pin that has the lowest number of repins based on the number of repins accumulated by each instance of the pin. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a really amazing feature that it does that. It can tell which of the pins has the most number of repins, because part of this big formula is getting pins on your account that have been pinned many times. That means that you pin stuff people like, basically. So you want pins that have lots of repins, that are good, that are on about the things you share content about, so they're highly focused, yada yada. I usually stick with the 5 days. I don't have any reason to adjust that. Protection for viral duplicates. This protects the copies in the instance of them being viral. That means that, like, let's say that for whatever reason let's say you're looping your own content, and this is happening concurrently with you getting lucky and creating amazing content that is in the process of going viral. That means being shared and shared and shared and shared and shared all over the internet, and like maybe getting like 1,000 repins in a week or something or more. It may be beneficial to keep both versions of such pins. And if that were the case, like if you notice, like, holy cow, this pin of this great recipe I did, or this great craft, or this great gardening tip is just getting repinned all over the place, then you could save both pins, but move one of them to a different board, like your gardening board or whatever. And then I usually click enabled because I haven't had much of that happen yet, so it hasn't posed any difficulty. And then protection for pins with comments, I never click that. Moving on, I'm gonna click submit. Okay. So now here Boardbooster is gonna refresh. It's whited out, and then shrubs I think will be at the very bottom. This should be they should have this in alphabetical order. Oh, it is. It is in alphabetical order. Okay, so there's my shrubs recipes, and they're getting looped 2 a day. Okay, so I think that's all I can say about looping. That's how you add a board. If you want to pause it, you just click it and click pause. You can adjust the, let's see here. I'll open up a board and you can adjust the number of pins per day right there. And see, when you very first set this up, you may have to play with that a couple times, but then once you set it up, I very rarely open up Boardbooster. There's been times that I've forgotten my password because it was so inoften that I opened it up, to be honest. Okay, I'm trying to close this up. Okay, save. All right. The next pinning tool that is supremely valuable is, let's do scheduler. So we're going in reverse order. We just talked about looping. Scheduler. I know when I first learned about this, I thought scheduler was the most important, and now I know it is the least. So here we go. So you click scheduler. So let's say that, okay, you guys do seasonal stuff. Let's say you're going to have, you're going to create a new board about gardening, or like it's going to be gardening season. You want to start pinning a lot of gardening things. You want to pin stuff about seedlings, whatever the case may be. The idea is that you can create, or excuse me, that Boardbooster will create for you. Yeah. Bless you. Okay, I'll take this for you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Wipe your hand here. Okay. Boardbooster will create for you it's called a secret board. Maybe you've never created a secret board. It's a board that no one can see, and it's using it like a receptacle, like a pantry. It's keeping it. It's a secret board. None of your people can see it. None of your followers can see it. But it's just a place for you to hold pins for a later time. I think it was probably originally created so that like you and your sister could be on this secret board together to pin ideas for a surprise birthday party for your mother or something. Now it's used for lots of different reasons, but you can pin to this secret board. So in this scenario, let's say it's like going to be gardening season. You're going to be pinning lots of gardening stuff. You want to gather a bunch of good gardening pins, or you're just on a roll and you're just, it's Saturday morning, you got your coffee, you're just going to pin a bunch of gardening stuff. It behooves you to have this secret board set up by the scheduler so that you have a secret gardening board in which to pin like the 100 gardening pins you're going to pin this morning, so that the scheduler can, one by one, randomly, at a nice even pace, pin them to the public gardening board. So, for example, on my scheduler, I have, my gardening and preserving would be the most relevant. So, I get on a roll and I pin canning and preserving pins, sometimes at a pretty fast clip. I'll show you my Pinterest right now, my real Pinterest, not my pretend Pinterest, my Pinterest account, and I'll show you my private, or excuse me, my secret board. When Boardbooster creates the board for you, like you just click create and you just sit back and it does it magically. You do not have to open Pinterest at all, I don't believe. So good gravy, slow internet, come on, and I'll show you the secret board. Secret boards are denoted. They're usually at the very bottom, and they're denoted by a hyphen and then the exact title as you wrote it. So let's say you named your board gardening. It would be hyphen gardening. Exactly the same. So here's my Pinterest account with my monitor thing in the way. Here's my account. I'm going to scroll to the very bottom where the secret boards are. Keep some boards secret. Only you and people you invite can see these boards. Okay, so I've made lots of them actually. But here is my canning and preserving board. Oh gosh, there's only 2 pins in here. This is embarrassing. I need lots. So that tells me that Saturday morning I need to get a hot cup of coffee and pin some stuff. Pinterest likes you to pin original content. That means you just going on the internet and finding amazing articles that have not been pinned before and pinning it if it's amazing and awesome and high quality and has vertical images, blah, blah. And at the same time, it likes things that have been pinned a lot. So you kind of end up doing both with Boardbooster. So you will create secret boards and schedule content for only a couple topics probably. Like the super key big ideas that would be relevant to your blog and to your Pinterest account. So some of you have boards that are like relevant but not super critical. Like if you blog about homesteading, but you don't own any goats yourself, you're not going to write about goat keeping, you don't have a whole lot about goats, I wouldn't say, just off the cuff, I wouldn't suggest that you be scheduling a lot of goat stuff unless you find some great resources and your readers love reading goat stuff and you want to, go ahead. But my rule of thumb is I try to just schedule pins that are directly related to the stuff I write about a lot and that I know my audience seems to like. So here I was imagining this board was full to the gills with jam recipes from all over the world, but it's not. That's too bad, Jenny. Shoot. But let's pretend it is. Boardbooster just automatically takes 1 pin a day and pins it to my canning board. I never think about it. I never see it. I don't know it happens, and that's exactly the way I want it. I think other schedulers out there make you manually do it, and you can decide which pin goes at what time. You can schedule it out other ways, but I believe Boardbooster is still the only outfit that loops pins. So in my humble recommendation, I would still recommend you, if you had to invest in anything for Pinterest, I would do Boardbooster because of the looping feature, and I like not having to worry about when this is happening. I have other things to think about. I have lots of home decor pins because lots of my... Okay, thank you, hon. Go sit down. It's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Yeah, I have 70 pins on my secret board for home. I have, oh my God almighty, 140 in drinks. See, because I'm launching this course about, okay, let's go like that. About cocktails, so I want to have lots of pins happening that are great, beautiful, vertical pins, optimized, yada yada. So I have lots of pins in the secret board for drinks, and there I can't remember what I scheduled it for, but like 2 or 3 a day. So there is that. I'm going to go back to Boardbooster. Why is this not? My cursor disappeared. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's see here. Add boards. So if I wanted to add a board to schedule to, I would click Add Boards. This is all my boards. All of them, including group boards. So you can pin, excuse me, you can schedule to group boards. You can do that. You would check the checkbox and click Continue if you wanted to do that. And somehow my cursor has disappeared, which is problematic. Okay, so I'm going to go up, I hope, to pinning tools, and I'm going to go to campaigns. I think that's where I'm going to show you next. Okay, campaigns. Creating a campaign is for me where, sorry, creating a campaign is where I create a pool or collection of pins that Boardbooster, it's kind of like scheduling. It seems like scheduling. It seems like it's like one and the same, but it's not. So I've created lots of random campaigns. Random means not a high degree of specification on my part as to when the pins go out or what pins go out. But I'll show you what that means in a moment. So a random campaign is where you tell Boardbooster, here's the URL for 10 of my gardening pins that I have written for blog posts that go to my blog. It doesn't have to be for yours. It could be any. But I like to campaign my own content. I can tell you about that later. But you put, here's the URLs for 10 pins, and you put them in a list. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then you tell it, you'll tell Boardbooster, okay, from this pool of 10 gardening pins, I want 2 to go out a day to this big group board called Best Gardening Ideas on Pinterest. And then this other board moves really fast. It's super popular. There's lots and lots of people pinning to it. I'm going to pin 5 gardening pins a day to super duper gardening pins on Pinterest. And then, there's another group board that I'm a part of, but it moves pretty slowly, and the owner says only 1 pin a day. So I'm going to set this pool of pins. From this pool of pins, only 1 a day will get pinned out. You set up a pinning window, same as the other features on Boardbooster, and you'll set it, like I just make a really wide window. But again, you could play with times. I think like 2 years ago was when Pinterest shifted from your feed being chronological to now being more algorithmic or based on what you like or what they think you like. So the time used to matter a lot more, I think. Now not so much, but you could play with it. I just set a nice big window of like 5 in the morning to 11 is what I do. That's what I imagine my people are on their phone potentially or on Pinterest. And then you just click save, and then from this pool of pins, these 10 URLs that you just copied and pasted in from Pinterest, those pins get pinned out at a random time, and random just means like within that window, Pinterest will like, boop, there's your pin about succulents. Okay, a couple hours later, boop, there's your pin about carrots. Boop, I'm going to pin the pin about deer-proofing your garden. Okay, and it does it at whatever frequency makes the most sense. So if you have 5 pins, of course, they're going to be pinned at a more frequent rate than the board that you only have 1 of, let's say, or that you're only pinning 1 pin to that day. So I have tons just because I have made a concerted effort in the last month to join a lot more group boards. I named them sort of cryptically because I'm actually not that organized of a person. There's probably a better way to do it, but I named them. Sometimes I name them for the exact name of the group board that they're going to, and some people name like some of my campaigns are named like home decor because I'm a part of several group boards that are named all kinds of crazy things about home decor. So all my like how to crochet this cute basket or whatever pins go to those. So you can name them whatever you want. I think it is helpful to have the name match pretty closely the name of the board to which it will be going. And it just kind of depends on your niche and your content and the number of boards you have. You might have, like if you only blog about gardening, then it'll be a lot easier. You're just going to be pinning to gardening boards, right? That's it. But if you have a more general, like some of you blog about homesteading, okay, well then you're going to have a lot of campaigns and potentially they'll only have a couple pins in each bucket, right? So let's say you have 2 posts about chickens and you get added to a group board about chickens, then you're going to have your 2 URLs for your chicken keeping blog posts, and you're going to set it to go out at a very slow pace of like maybe once a week or once every 30 days. It depends on how many other chicken lovers are on that board, right? But if you only write about recipes, your boards will probably be divided by, or excuse me, your campaigns will be divided by the type of recipe probably. Like I'm a part of a jam specific board, and so all my jam URLs are all together. And my cursor is still absent from this screen, which is terrible. I'm sorry. So I'll just narrate for you since you can see my screen. Holiday recipe. So I just got it added to this board called #holiday recipes. I only have 16 source pins. That means from my blog, I have 16 pins that were relevant to holidays. And they're going to 3 different group boards. That means that there are 3 boards that I'm a part of that are holiday related. And if I were able to click on that right now, it would show you, very similarly to the other windows and the other functions, that you could adjust the number of pins per day per group board. I don't use the clone function very often because it doesn't just clone the URLs, it clones the boards also, so I haven't used that very much. But edit with the little gear icon is how you tweak or adjust that function. I don't know where my cursor went. That's embarrassing. Sorry, guys. But let's see here. There's reports. I'm trying to do this without the cursor showing up. But under reports is where you would learn about how valuable it is to be part of a particular board. So after a while, you will be part of a board. That's a little hard, hun. Sorry. Ooh! Scarlett, help him.
Okay, go.
After a while, you'll become part of a board, and after you give it about a month, you're able to tell if whomever those many followers are that are following that large group board, you'll be able to tell if they are repinning the pins that you are pinning to it, okay? Because your ultimate goal is to get your pins pinned to other people's boards and for them to look at your blog content and fall madly in love with you and just be salivating to give you money, right? That's the goal, right? So the repin rate, after a little bit, once you get the setup, the repin rate does matter, and that is where you get information about that. So if you're a part of a group board and in 2 months your repin rate is 0%, like 0.0, that means that nobody ever looks at that board, that big group board, and pins your stuff. So because you are paying by the bulk number of pins per month, it probably is not worth your time or money to remain a part of that group board. And that is where you would find that information underneath reports, right? So I'm just getting to where I'm really refining and tweaking this myself, and I've been on Boardbooster for over a year. But you should probably join the party a little sooner than that. You should look at that. After you've been a part of a group board for about a month or so, you should look at the repin rate, and someone's going to ask, what's a good repin rate? I don't really know. Like, my best ones that drive the most traffic the group boards that I'm a part of have a repin rate of I think the very best one is a 4.6. But lots of boards I'm a part of have like a 0.4 repin rate. And I'm just now personally sorting out whether or not I should stay or if I should go or how long have I been in this board, and I'm just sussing it out. I'm a part of something like 80 group boards, but that's sort of been recent, and you don't need to join that many right this minute, but I'm just letting you know that that's where I am personally currently. Also under reports is gosh darn, I wish I could click on that. That's too bad. Also under reports is a section that, oh, golly. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to tell you. But I think that's not repins. Oh, growth over time. So how quickly you're growing in followers. And it shows you like a nice bar graph. And if you're using this, I would be pretty darn surprised if it wasn't just a steady uphill thing and a pretty quick one. I think I'm growing at like a 10% rate. Boardbooster is really good. It sends you 1 email a week with your stats. And I haven't had a month ever that was a decline. And I feel like I didn't even know what I was doing when I was setting it up. So there's that. Account is where you would like change your password, change your account. One thing I can recommend or say about Boardbooster several times, because math is not my strong suit, when I'm looking over to the left, it says up to 223 repins a day. When you add up the number of pins that are happening per day, then you multiply that by 30, and that's how many pins per month you're getting, right? Because I'm just kind of like haphazard and not very accurate, I guess, I have failed to upgrade my account many times, upgrade or adjust, and it's not like they like shut your account off or turn you off or block you or anything. They just send you this nice email. It's like, next month, either pin less or upgrade your account. And it has never been rude. They've never like told me to buzz off. They've always been very gracious. And actually, I would say consistently, I'm over by like 10 or 11 pins, because it gets kind of confusing to calculate when you do like 1 pin every 7 days and then another pin's once every 5 days. Like, that's kind of hard for me personally. It's hard to keep track of. So I'm consistently over by a little bit, and they never even send the email then. They're really nice. So that you'd adjust things in account. And so then as far as like, I think that's probably all I should tell you. This is going to be a long video. One quick tip about repins. Okay, so you write a blog post. It has a nice vertical image. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Pinterest is going to love it. You go to your blog. It's published. You click pin, and you pin it to your board. That's called like, my blog, my like Sweet Bee Garden or Sweet Bee whatever. Sorry, Melissa, I know your blog has a better name than that. You pin it to your blog board. Then you open up Pinterest, either the app on your phone or on your desktop or your laptop, and from your blog board, you repin it to all the other relevant places, whether they are boards you own or boards that are group boards. That way, the pin on your blog board in your Pinterest account is getting all those repins. So because I'm a part of so many group boards, my one blog post very easily gets 50 repins like that in one 10, it takes me maybe 2 minutes. Okay, because that's so many. That already helps or boosts or increases the likelihood, or however you want to look at it, increases the likelihood that pin will float to the top when someone searches for that keyword. Okay, maybe I'll make a different video about Pinterest, like other Pinterest tips, but that's a quick one. That's pretty easy. Okay. So the other thing I was going to mention is, it seems like the golden question or the big question is ratio of like, how much should I be pinning of other people's content versus my own? I took Pinfinite Growth by Melissa Griffin in August of 2015, and it was very good. It's a very good course. I learned a lot. I'd recommend it to anybody. It was good. However, I believe that she is both personally and professionally very conservative and recommended a conservative pinning strategy where the ratio is where you pin 80% other people's content and 20% your own. Especially if you're just starting out blogging, you're going to be able to do that easily because you don't have that much content, right? You don't have that many blog posts. You don't have that many things to pin. That is a good starting point. I did that and I grew, and I'm glad I did it. That's fine. I am personally now toying with and learning about and experimenting with pinning a lot more than that. One reason I'm able to do that is because writing blog posts is the one thing I am good at and I know how to do, and I'm a prolific writer, so I have like 140 blog posts. I have a lot of content to pin. One thing that was taught in that course and or a philosophy I've read about is like it looks spammy or looks bad to pin only your own content, and or it looks spammy or looks bad to belong to lots of group boards. I'm not going to necessarily debate that, but I'm just going to air my personal thought that when I get on Pinterest to find a recipe for something I want to make, I find the recipe pin, I click on the pin, and I go to the recipe and I read it. And best case scenario for that blogger, I love their site and I subscribe to their mailing list and I become their raving fan. I don't ever go to their profile, and if I did, I wouldn't care not one bit how many group boards they were a part of. Okay? I suppose the one scenario in this looks spammy question where that might matter is if, like, let's say that I'm a group board owner and I, for whatever reason, think it looks spammy for people to pin only their own content to the board. If you're a group board owner, you should make it crystal clear in the description of the group board what types of pins you want, the types of content that they should be linking to. Like you might say like no giveaways, no affiliate linked blog posts. You could be as specific as you wanted. It's your board. You do whatever you want. And like in my mind, if you are observing the quantity of pins that they specify, like lots of them say a max of 5 a day or a max of 10 a day or 1 a day, as long as you are sticking to the quantity, I don't know why it would matter if you only were pinning your content. Personally, that's my own personal opinion, and you can take it or leave it or do whatever you want with that thought. I am currently on all these campaigns to all these group boards. It is 100% pins that go to my blog posts. And I do make a point of making sure I only pin the number of pins that they want me to pin. And I check back and make sure that I'm not like let's say the limit is 5 pins a day. But then actually the board's kind of slow and there's not that many people pinning very much or not very frequently. So it's like, whoa, all Jenny's pins. That looks kind of lame. That does look kind of spammy, right? Then I need to slow it down to like 1 a day or 2 a day. I need to go into Boardbooster and adjust the amount of pins that are going out either via the scheduler or the campaign. I primarily operate in the campaign world now. So that I'm not spamming the board or just like, here's my blog post, so many blog posts by Jenny. Okay, you don't want to be like that. But in my way of thinking, I don't know why, if you were just following the quantity, I don't know why that would look spammy. Furthermore, I want to be able to show you this. There's a function in here, and there's a function called pin sourcing. Gosh darn it. It's in Scheduler. I wanted to show it to you. Let's see. Okay, well, my cursor's gone, so I'll have to show you pin sourcing. So, under pinning tools in Scheduler, there's a way you can schedule pins that you've never seen before, that you don't own, that you've never pinned, okay? And I just did this, and I'm sorry my cursor disappeared, but I'm never going to have another quiet minute, so I'm just going to press onward. Okay, so here's a way that you can be like a team player for a board and be repinning stuff and not be spammy and like do all the good stuff you're supposed to do by using pin sourcing. Okay, so you go to pinning tools. You go to Scheduler. On the right-hand side, there's a thing that says pin sourcing. And I'm under the impression that it charges 1 penny to find the pin that you're going to do and then 1 penny to pin it. So, like, just keep a little mental deb. You don't want to rack up a huge bill on sourcing. But it does cost a little bit more. But it's a nominal amount, and it's worth playing with. Especially if you're, like, kind of have, like, a really small niche board you really want to fill up with awesome stuff. This would be a good way to find it without you having to spend the time to find it. So, I'll tell you. I created a board about shrub recipes. Okay? Just shrubs. Not other kinds of cocktail mixes. Just shrub recipes. I clicked pinning tools at the top there in the hot pink bar, Scheduler, And then to the right, there's a thing that says pin sourcing. And that's exactly what it is. It is sourcing or finding pins for you. There are two ways it'll source them for you. One, by keyword. I typed in shrub recipes, and then I wrote other words, just like if you were like writing a research paper in college and you had to type in keywords and stuff. Sorry, my kids are so loud. So I typed in, like, to make sure I didn't come up with like hedges and greenery and stuff, I wrote other cocktail specific keywords in there to make sure that it was only, just a minute, honey. I know it's snowing, it's exciting. Go look. Go look. Go look.
I already looked.
Okay, good. Get brother to look too. And then Pinterest is just looking in Pinterest land and pinning one pin a day for me from shrubs. And I'm telling you what, they have found some really good stuff so far. So in the last 2 weeks, I've been thrilled with that pin sourcing experiment. Furthermore, you can tell it to source you pins from a group board. So let's say that you find it doesn't have to be a group board. It can just be a board. So any board out there in the internet, in the world, let's say you find a great board about whatever it is that you do, about spinning wool. Let's say that this is like a really great board, like all the pins on here are, you want to pin them all. They're awesome. They're different, but they're all great. That's how you know that's a great board for sourcing. So you find that on Pinterest, you copy the URL at the top. That's the www.pinterest.com/group/board about spinning wool, whatever it is. You copy that and you'll paste it into the pin sourcer, and you'll determine the rate of like 1 pin a day, 5 pins a day, and it'll find pins in that board to repin to your board. And it can be, I think you can pin to a group board that way too. So that's a way that you can pin stuff from Pinterest onto other places. That takes even more work out of your hands and onto Boardbooster. It does cost 1 penny to find the pin and 1 to pin it for you. But, if you have like I said, like a really specific thing you're looking for and you don't really have time to find it or care to find it, like for me in the shrub recipes, it's been a home run. That was a really good way to use it. And I'm sure there are other smart ways to use that tool also. And I do think that is all of the, I think that's all of the things I can share with you today. I'm sorry, this is such a long video, but again, that's how you use Boardbooster. In the link to this video, I will include the link for you to sign up for Boardbooster. It is going to be an affiliate link. That means that I will get a few pennies off my bill if you sign up, and I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think it was a very powerful, very valuable tool. Thanks again for being here, and I'll try and edit out this silence where I'm trying to figure out how to turn this off. Thanks, guys. Oh, there's my cursor was underneath the window, I think. Thanks, guys. It's been real.